A very warm welcome everyone, my name is Nick and welcome to another episode 4 of Spectrum Talk, where we talk about anything Spectrum for a little bit. If you've missed any of the other episodes, so 1 through to 3, where we talked a little bit about Ultimate Play the Game, their early years to their final years, then they are available in the playlist Spectrum Talk, so go to the main channel site and click on the playlists. Also, it would help the channel greatly if you're enjoying the content here, then consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the Renegade Trilogy, which came out on the ZX Spectrum, also come out on some other machines as well, like the Amstrad CPC, Commodore 64, the NES, and the Sega Master Systems. When you owned an 8-bit computer back in the day, as a child, it was all about a sense of bringing the quality of arcade games into the comfort of your living room. Some conversions were a lot better than others, and a big subject at the time which kids could get into quite quickly was kung fu and karate, basically no nonsense fighting, because we all played cowboys and Indians in the playground, or a member of some fictitious gang where we had to rescue one of our classmates. One of the big fighting games at the time at the arcade was Renegade, published by Taito as a coin-op in 1986. It was one of the most influential games in gaming history, or at least amongst them, and it came before Double Dragon, although Double Dragon had a fairly similar storyline to this. Essentially what's happened is it's a 2D horizontal scroller, and you must rescue your girlfriend who's been kidnapped by some evil gang lord. Renegade was for 1 to 2 players. You played on, each level took place on 1 to 2 screens, where you just wander around defeating various gangs, getting more increased in difficulty. They had weapons to attack you, and once you've beaten the final gang, eventually you could rescue your girlfriend. So what could be simpler than that? The game had a variety of levels, although the actual gameplay itself remained virtually the same. The levels were Subway, the Pier, Sleazy Street, End Street, and then some interior of some building where you fought a big end of level boss. So it seems then that Renegade was an ideal game to be converted from the arcade to bring to the 8-bit world to be a big hit. Now, software publisher at the time, Imagine, got hold of the license. There was only one Renegade game in the arcades. There was never a sequel, but Imagine's idea is to convert it, and then if that sold well, then come with 2 other sequels. So milk it for all it's worth. Why not? Seems like a good idea. And so the first game hit the shelves on the ZX Spectrum in 1987 by Imagine, 1 year after the arcade coin-op. Now, it come to great reviews at the time. We'll put some footage up as normal next to me here. It recreated the gameplay of the arcades well, though the graphics weren't quite there, but it was a nice fun game. It maintained the same degree of accuracy where the playing field was over 2 screens. On the first level there was a bit of a drop, so you could trick your opponents to go in besides this drop. You can kick them down there, they'd fall down. If you fell down, then that'll be it. The music on this game was really good. The playability was for 1 to 2 players, and it played really well. You do punches, kicks, stroll around. It moves a bit slow by today's standards, but it was an all-round great conversion. Other conversions at the time, Amstrad CPC, Commodore 64 and the NES, all had rave reviews as well. As I said before, Double Dragon was to come later, but on the Spectrum at least, I think that the Renegade games, well, at least the first 2, were better than those ones. If you had them back in the day, there might be an argument to support either one, but as terms of arcade conversions go, this one was pretty special. Now, as I mentioned before, there was no arcade sequel to actual Renegade, and Imagine had a big hit with their conversion there. So what do you do now? Well, you need a sequel. So they couldn't just put out the same thing again, so they could use that original idea. So the your girlfriend had been kidnapped yet again. Now we have to try and get her back over more levels. Now, what came out was Target Renegade, which provided all of that. The music was good as well. This came out a year later in 1988, when the market was still strong, looking for a sequel or to extend the gameplay. The tagline on this game was, "He's back, meaner, tougher, and thirsty for revenge." I think that was the evil guy who was obsessed with abducting your girlfriend all the time, as was the guys in Double Dragon. I don't know what's up with them. Crazy fools. There were 6 stages in Target Renegade, so one more than the original Renegade game, so it's good to see things moving forward. There was the car park, the sleazy street, city park, the shopping mall, the sleazy bar, and then the boss at the end. As I said, the sprites were slightly bigger in this, the animation was a bit better, and it led for a better gameplay experience. It scrolled, so it weren't just over 1 or 2 screens a level. It scrolled to the right, then scrolled back down to the left, in at least the car park level. And it was a lot better than Renegade, although Renegade was a big success in its own right. A lot of people would have played Target Renegade first before Renegade and then went back to see Renegade before that. But these 2 games together were absolutely awesome, so it seemed like Imagine could do no wrong, really. If you put in the time, you could have beat any of these games. The difficulty, although it was there, with practice you felt that it wasn't beyond you as a kid and you could actually defeat these. So that's what it was. It drew you into the gameplay. There's nothing worse than a game back in the time in which there were loads, where as a kid you wouldn't get anywhere at all and then you ditch it and not play it ever again. It gradually got you in, so at least anyone could do the first level at least with a bit of practice, and then it's all about perfecting your skills. So what could Imagine do? They had a big hit with the original Renegade, the arcade conversion in 87. They had Target Renegade, the sequel, in 1988. So don't mess this up. You're on a pretty good run, aren't you? So they come up with, we need another Renegade game. So they come up with Renegade 3, the final chapter, in 1989. Now, there's no coincidence that this was the final chapter, because they over-egged it. This was a disaster. Now, computer game storylines aren't the most believable in the world, but you want to at least keep them a little bit on a level there, so you don't have to extend your ways of belief too far. In this one, your girlfriend had been kidnapped again. Well, I suppose that had to happen to give you a sense. Why couldn't they have changed it, like you had to get back a diamond or the present or something? But no, it's your girlfriend. She hasn't been kidnapped by gang members this time. No siree, she's just been kidnapped by time travellers from the future. Yeah, and they try and travel to different periods of time with your girlfriend for reasons unknown, and you must track them down to whatever time zone they're in and get them back. It saw weird stages like Stone Age, Ancient Egypt, and the castle. Now, the stage 1 was by far the best. Perhaps they didn't think anyone was going to progress further than stage 1, and then the graphics take a bit of a dive. Stage 1 is the Stone Age, where you're doing hand-to-back combat with cavemen and dinosaurs, who were never on the same planet at the same time. But anyway, it's ZX Spectrum, it doesn't matter that much. But hand-to-hand combat with dinosaurs who are working for the time travellers or something like that, it's just gone a bit stupid. Gameplay is poor. After Stone Age, you go to Ancient Egypt. It doesn't get much better. It's not very enjoyable, and this one just looks like a cash grab. Most people will agree that Renegade and Target Renegade was where the action was, and Renegade 3 was a total disaster, one to be avoided. Good to look for historical purposes, but not really one to start off with. If as a kid you got Renegade 3 and didn't have the other 2, you would never have thought to look back at the other 2, because you would have thought they was worse. It's good when a sequel is better, which was in Target Renegade, but the sequel after that just lost the plot completely. Did you own any of those Renegade games? It's a pity there wasn't a 4th one, but you know, the standard was starting to slip by the 3rd one, so maybe it isn't such a bad thing. Did you own any of those ones? Do you disagree with that? Did you love Renegade 3? Did you think it was the best of the trilogy? If so, let me know. It's all about sharing opinions and having different views. For me, Target Renegade was the best one. Renegade was a good entry into it, and as we say, Renegade 3 wasn't quite as good. Hope you're enjoying watching these Spectrum Talk episodes. It's something a bit separate from just the game reviews, where we pick a subject. In the future we might look at coding or other software houses, or just early memories and experiences. If you've got any ideas what you'd like to have covered in Spectrum Talk, then by all means put your thoughts below. We may or we may not come to those, but it's good to have your views so we can talk about something relevant. So if you've got an emulator or a real life Spectrum, have a go of Renegades for the time being and tell me what you think of those. As I say, good music on those, and on the original Renegade or Target Renegade, it's one of those two. You will hear the music at the end of the vlogs that go up as well. Overall, despite the poor 3rd one, it was a good trilogy. So thanks for watching as always. Until next time, take great care of yourself and a very fond goodbye.
Goodbye.